I've come here for a very special purpose because I want to introduce a very special guest to you. Somebody who you've been waiting for a very long time. If you can guess correctly who's coming onto stage now, then we will call him. I'm going to give you hints. Who? I can't hear. Okay, I'm going to give you a few more hints and you can keep shouting the name. Only then will he come onto stage. And not only is he going to talk to you, we have something special in store as well. Okay, so our next guest is the best on-screen principal you've ever seen. Who are we talking about? Our next guest has had a house full in every film he's been part of. An industry legend from his comic timing in Happy New Year and Munnabhai MBBS. To his emotional performance in roles like Unchai. But for a moment, if one had to get serious and talk about how he can be a role model to all of us, then a lesser known fact about Boman is that he struggled with dyslexia in school and overcame it. Hello? Are you there? Yes. He began his career as a waiter at the Taj Hotel. From there to the film industry, his journey makes him an ideal role model for the youth. Do I hear it? But most importantly, he has quickly become a cherished member of the I.I.M.U.N. And yes, come on. He's here today with his whole family. He's traveling with us, both within the country and outside the country, especially a recent 6-day tour with I.I.M.U.N. at the British Parliament. Ladies and gentlemen, it gives me great pleasure to introduce our very own Boman Irani.
मखमल गालों वाली, मस्त ख्यालों वाली, चंचल चालों वाली, छुपा छुपी खेलने लगी, कंचन काची कोरी, नटखट नामी छोरी, जबरन जोरा जोरी, छुपा छुपी खेलने लगी। ओ केटी को बर्फ बदन है, केटी को सुर्ख अगन है, मुश्किल जीना खाना रे मुश्किल।
Same to you. Thank you so much, Kunal. That was so heartfelt and so lovely. And you know, I get a welcome like this every time I go home. Well, I'm joking, of course. But just to say, in case Kunal didn't announce my name properly, we were speaking about ego, sir. We were speaking about ego. And that's one thing I learned very fast. So I'll start with a little light-hearted story about ego and not taking things for granted in this world. My name is Boman Irani, just to make sure. And I'm an actor, just to make sure, in case everybody over here doesn't know what I do, right? Everybody doesn't need to know who I am and what I do. I think that's humble enough, would you not say? I was on a flight once, and I was sitting in the first row, and people were coming in, and I kept wishing them, as they were coming in, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. This was going on. One guy, he was talking so loudly on the phone, and I find that very rude, whether it's early in the morning at 5 o'clock or any other time. And he was speaking so loudly, doing some business, I think, whatever it was. And then he spotted me. And he said, and I was pretty chuffed by that, but and he got breathless. He should have done some breathing exercises and yoga, but he said, my favorite actor. My favorite actor. And everybody in the back all locked up, the whole thing, the whole boarding process had stopped, and I'm looking with them, pretty embarrassed, I have to say. My favorite actor, my favorite actor. He's telling the guy on the phone, "Ek minute, मैं उनसे बात करवाता हूँ." I said, I don't want to talk to some guy on the phone. Nevertheless, he suddenly got more and more breathless, and he walks up to me and said, He comes up to my ear and he says loudly for the whole plane to hear. And he asked me a question. He's saying, "Arey, lekin bhai sahab, aapka naam kya hai? Bhul gaya." Mera itna kachra ho gaya, ladies and gentlemen and bacche log. From that day on, I realized that no matter what you do in life, stay humble, it'll help you. Don't assume anything, all right? I heard Guruji in the conference room, and you repeated what you said over here, and it kind of struck something, it kind of shook me up to know that every 40 seconds something disastrous is happening in our country. It's so sad that, you know, our attention span used to be 40 minutes and now it's only 40 seconds. And what's the reason for this? What's the reason for this? I think that we spend too much time being anxious about how we look and how we present ourselves externally to the rest of the world. Stop doing that. Nothing is external. Stop doing that. I'll tell you, however, when I was a child, I was born posthumously, means after the death of my father. My father died 6 months before I was born, so I came into this world a very anxious child. So anxious, so scared, surrounded by only women. My mother, my 3 sisters and their cousins and aunties and aunties and only and aunties and aunties and aunties. And all they ever did was protect me and mollycoddle me. And I used to be very anxious because I had a speech defect. I used to speak with a squeak, I used to speak with a stutter, and I used to speak like virus with my tongue hanging out till here. You know that? No, it wasn't fun. Listen, you're cheering right now. But back in the day, people used to make fun of me. And I used to speak like this, and people used to laugh. And for that very reason, my friends, because it used to really upset me that something is drastically wrong with me, I stopped speaking. I just stopped speaking. I did not answer any questions when I went for my entrance exam to school. I didn't. The principal, of course, called and told my mother that, you know, he's anxious and that's about it. I had learning disability, as Kunal mentioned. I had dyslexia, and worse still, I had dyscalculia. Numbers don't stick in my head. They just fall out of my mind the moment it enters. A phone number, I cannot for the life of me remember a phone number. I cannot for the life. Now this new thing has come out. OTP kya hai? OTP, I start shaking. My hotel room number, I always end up going to the wrong and knocking the door on the wrong room. And the people, oh. Sometimes I knock on the wrong room on purpose, but it's a family crowd, so we won't talk about that now. So, joking, quiet everybody. So, what am I trying to say over here? How does that change? What is the solution? Why are we so anxious? Why is there so much depression? Why are people having fearing things like I feared when I was a child? I had enough reason, I have to tell you, because I was known to the entire family and all my friends' parents as Bichara Boman the duffer. Why? Because I never spoke, because I lost my father, I don't know, because I didn't get great grades. So I became Bichara Boman the duffer. And I can understand, because you know why? We are judging ourselves. So the moment I started judging myself, no, he's getting better marks than me. Now people are getting marks only in the 90s. What's going on? So if you get marks in the 70s and the 80s, are you not good enough for the rest of the world? I'm standing in front of you. I hardly ever made the 60 grade. I'm standing in front of you. Nothing wrong with it. You will find joy. You will find joy, as Guruji said, in what you do. Admiral sir, where are you, sir? You will find joy in what you do. You understand? I'll tell you this great little story about my mother, who has lost her husband at the age of 29. I don't remember numbers, but 29 was when mom died. My father died, my mother. And she had no idea how to run the shop. And she's got 3 little girls. She's got me in her tummy. Can you imagine the life she must have led for the first few years after my father died? But she fought on. She fought on, and she gave me birth, and she loved me. And she did not judge me. Don't judge your children and compare them to the neighbor's kids. Don't judge your children. A lot of this has got to do with parents judging their children. I beg you, I beseech you, do not do that. Nevertheless, one day, I'm in the choir. I'm in the choir. I'm on stage. All my other friends standing with their big red bow ties, sitting and singing songs with rouge, okay? Lots of rouge and lipstick. And I'm singing. And my mother is sitting in the auditorium over there. All right? I'm pointing to someone. You're not my mom, okay? But, I'm pointing in a general direction. And she's sitting over there. And she's smiling away. Up until then, I was the most anxious guy. And she's smiling away, and she's smiling away, and she's smiling away. Even when I was not singing. And then after the concert, that evening, my mother meets me and she hugs me. She always showed me love. But more than love, what she did, I said, Mom, why were you smiling like that? So much. She said, you know why, beta? Because you were smiling. And every parent wants their children to smile. Give their parents that opportunity. But parents, it's up to you. It's not necessarily up to them. And she realized something very important that day. Why was I smiling? Can anybody figure out? I'll tell you. The wooden stage, the lights, the sound, and the audience. I found my nursery, and she understood that. She understood that. And she made sure that I went on stage. She made sure that I did dramatics. She made sure I went to a speech therapist. She made sure I went to the movies every day. I was supposed to be this boy child who was going to turn her world around after my father passed away. Instead of saying, you're a duffer. No, you're not getting anything in maths, right? She encouraged me in the world that I would be nurtured and be happy. That's it. That's it. She would send me to the movies every day. We had a cinema hall across our home, the Alexander Cinema. And she said, have you watched a movie today? I said, same movie running yesterday. Which movie? Piazza. You've never heard of Piazza, right? Yeah? People in the front row must have, saying, go watch it again. And go watch it again. We didn't have YouTube then, so that was her way of educating. She educated me through the movies because she knew that's the way I received information, love, and knowledge. She said, go watch it. Go watch it for the art direction. Go watch it for the lyrics. Go watch it for the acting. Go watch it for the photography. Just go and enjoy. I used to just keep going to the movies. And one day, now what's the point she's making over here? I'll come tell you after this little anecdote. I've got about 3 hours to speak, right? Everybody went quiet. Shh, I'm joking. I'll finish fast. I'll tell you this little anecdote. My mother was a shopkeeper. My father was a shopkeeper. My grandfather was a shopkeeper. And then I became a shopkeeper for 14 years. I used to sit at a wafer shop selling potato chips. All right? And one of my dad's friends, an old gentleman called Farood uncle, would come and sit and give my mother company. All right? And one day, Farood uncle, I was about this high, a little kid who loved the movies, who loved telling stories of the movies, who narrated stories like he knew how to shoot it, And Farood uncle asks, what's running at the Novelty? Now the Novelty cinema, the back screen wall touched our wafer shop wall, right? And he says, what's running at the Novelty, Jaru? And I squeaked out from there. El Cid. El Cid is a very famous movie with Charlton Heston. And he said, oh, you've seen it? I said, yes, of course, Farood uncle. Farood uncle said, I wish I could see it. So mom said, Boman will take you. All right? Now, this is not, it sounds not so unusual right now, but here the kicker. I showed I took Farooq uncle to the cinema. We watched Elsit together. But the point is, Farooq uncle was blind. And my mother empowered me by telling a little boy to take an old man to see a movie and explain it to him. For me, that was empowerment. Empower your children in a good way. And after that day, I was on the stage smiling. As Guruji says, smile, 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 and the smile fades later on when the muchi comes along. No, keep smiling. Keep smiling. From that day, I haven't stopped smiling. Even when I'm telling the saddest of stories, I haven't stopped smiling. And if you see me anytime walking past, if I'm not smiling, remind me. Okay? Anyway, I went for my first job. I have to tell you, since we've got about 2 hours left for me to speak, I'll tell you the story of my grandmother, my dadi. My dadi came from Iran. Today I realize she was a refugee. She was a refugee. She came from Iran, and this is not a story out of the Bible. There's a story of my grandmother who I met. She came from Iran on a donkey. She rode across the desert, stayed in a tent the night, and then with my grandfather sailed in a sailboat and came to India. And she says these were the sapats, those sandals that she used to wear. She used to wear those sandals with the open toe, with little crisscross putty. I remember those sandals. I remember those sandals and the way she used to tell stories of being a refugee. Why am I telling you this story? It's not about me. It's about all of you. Someday, and I know it when you're associated with I.I.M.U.N and the schools and the teachers that you have, and by listening to all these luminaries sitting over here, such important people, you will be inspired and you will be successful. You will. And I bless you with that success. But, this is the important thing I wanted to share with you. Never forget your roots, where your parents or your grandparents came from and what they did and what they've done for you. Because you will climb the ladder of success. And today it's very, very possible. It happens very fast, you know. And remember, with each promotion, with each grade, with each pay grade, like in the movies, after each hit, there is something that changes within us. We do get arrogant, as Admiral Saab said. We do get arrogant. And I always try to compare and make an analogy with the clothes you wear. It's like when you wear pajamas. Okay, I'm going to do a little performance art for you. There's a certain way you walk in your pajamas, don't you? When you wear jeans, your body language is very different. When you wear a suit, suddenly out of the blue, you feel that something's gone up your spine and you start walking like this. You know? Like you're so bloody important. Similarly, when you go up the ladder of success, don't let the perks of the job be more important than the job itself, my friends. I'll say this from the bottom of my heart, because you will be successful, and that intoxication of success will change the way you speak, change the way you walk, change the way you speak to the people beneath your station. Don't ever forget that. Don't ever forget that, because believe me, it's a recipe for failure. That kind of success is a recipe for failure. I went for my first interview. I went for my first interview to the Taj Mahal Hotel, where I became a waiter, as Kunal told you. And there was this very Kharus Parsi gentleman called Sam Bhada over there taking my interview. If you remember Sam Bhada, and he was writing down something, and I entered. I was wearing a bow tie, and he said, "Oh, okay, which department do you want to join?" So I put on a voice, and I said, "Food and beverage." First thing he said, hey, knock off the accent, okay? Knock off the accent. I said, "Yes, sir." What is he saying? And what am I saying? Be yourselves. Don't do things to impress people. Be authentic. That's the most impressive thing of all. Be authentic. So then I said, quickly, food and beverage, food and beverage. Food and beverage. I say, okay, great. The whole hotel business is about food and beverage. Be specific. What is it that you want? And that word stuck in my head. What is it that you want? If you don't want anything in life, you don't have a story to tell. You must want something. That's the basis of any screenplay. Anyway, I said I want to work at the French restaurant, the Rendezvous at the Taj. He says, wow, you want something. Wow, the rooftop restaurant. I said, yes. The most expensive restaurant in Asia. I said, yes. The French restaurant. Yeah, okay, great. Go to the basement, you idiot. I said, why? He says, you think I'm going to send you straight up? Of course not. Go to the basement. He gave me a little pichkari, that little squirter, and he started washing dishes. And what's he saying? He said it very clearly in as many words. Pay your dues, and then work your way up. Pay your dues. These are lessons. I'm not preaching. These are lessons that I learned along the way. And then I'm going to cut this story short and come to the final act, which is when I became an actor. The first film that I ever did was a film called Let's Talk. Have you heard of it? Of course not. Nobody's heard of it. Nobody's heard of a film called Let's Talk. Maybe a couple of film buffs, maybe. It was a film shot on digital. Digital means handycam. Handycam 25 years ago was what our uncles used to bring from London and shoot everything at the wedding. It was like a wedding video camera. Your iPhone has better resolution. We decided to make a movie on a handycam. But Ram Madhvani, the director, said, you will write it with me, you will rehearse it with me, and for 1 year we'll work on this. For a movie shot on a handycam. For 1 year we will work on this, and then we shoot it in 7 days. We wrote, rewrote, rehearsed, wrote, rewrote, rehearsed, and shot it in 7 days. Film was ready, all right? And I asked Ram Madhvani, I said, Ram, when are we going to release the film? He's saying, oh, we are not going to release the film. Who told you that? So I was pulling his leg, of course, because we did not know how we were going to release this film. But he said, he was pulling my leg, he said, we made it for you, for me, for our friends, and to ease the passing of time. I felt like a really old man when he said all that. But he said something that has stuck in my head for the rest of my life. He said, maybe nobody will ever see this film, but always remember, on anything, whether it's a film or anything that you work on, your name is on it. Your name is on it. And as long as your name is on it, there are no half measures. And it doesn't matter if nobody saw the film. However, we shot the film and the film was being edited. At the same time, a big blockbuster Hindi film was being produced. And the editing was going on this monitor, and this very big producer of his blockbuster is looking at it, and then he's getting distracted by that other film. So he came and said, "Ye kaun si picture hai? Bahut gandi picture hai. Ye actor kaun hai?" Said, "Boman Irani." Parsi hai? हाँ. Hindi बोलता है? पता नहीं. भेजो मेरे पास. I went to his house. He gave me dinner and he gave me a check of 2 lakh rupees. I said, "For what?" "अरे मेरी अगली कहानी के लिए." I said, "आपकी अगली कहानी? आपकी अगली कहानी कौन सी है?" "मेरे पास कहानी ही नहीं है." I said, "तो फिर आप पैसे क्यों दे रहे?" And he gave me the confidence that I can't believe at that point of time. He said, "Look, Boman, if you decide to do Hindi films, and I come to you with a story, this check is with you, you dare not give me dates, because you will be the busiest actor in the industry." Really? All right. He disappeared. And after 7 months, he called and said, "Yara, kahani mil gayi, kamal ki kahani, arey kamal ki kahani hai." I'm doing with Vinod Chopra, by the way, of 12th fail, okay? "Kamal ki kahani hai, yara, arey kamal ki kahani." I said, "Kahani ka naam kya hai?" He said, Munnabhai MBBS. What's the point I'm making? Nobody saw the movie, Let's Talk. But it took one man to give me the break of my life. So don't feel that sometimes when you work hard, it goes unnoticed. It will be noticed. It will be noticed at some day, at some point, and years later. Al Pacino, the great Hollywood actor, said, if you're good, they'll come looking for you. Even if you're hiding in Siberia, they'll come looking for you. Remember that. However, I hated the name. Munnabhai MBBS sounded like a terrible name. बहुत बकवास title है. I said, कहानी क्या है? अरे गुंडा है, वो डॉक्टर बनना चाहता है. It sounds horrible when you think about it. I said, मेरा रोल क्या है? अरे तू डॉक्टर है. तू डॉक्टर है और पूरे पिक्चर में तू हंसते रहेगा. Sounds horrible, right? So he said, तू जाके राजू को मिल. I said, who's Raju? Raju Hirani. I didn't know who this gentleman was. And he told me the story with so much passion. So much passion and so much love and so much belief that even a story that sounds so ridiculous, a gunda wanting to be a doctor, I bought it because there's belief and there's passion, as P.T. Usha ma'am said. You have to have the belief and the passion in every story. Finally, we made the film. Nobody wanted to distribute it. Nobody wanted to back it. No one wanted to put one penny into this ridiculous film. Think about it. No one went to see it. The last shot of the film is a Shadi Ka Mandap ka shot. Do you remember? Right? We didn't have money. We didn't have money to take that shot. So the art director said, "Arey to theek hai, paise nahi hai, to kisi ke shadi mein gate crash karo." Vinod Chopra says, "Arey wonderful idea." And we actually gate crashed into somebody's wedding. We didn't have the money. We all hid behind the mandap. Sunil Dutt Saab, Sanjay Dutt, Arshad Barsi, the cinematographer, all of us are sitting over there, huddled over there. And when the Baratis went home and all the guests went home, we ran on stage and we took the shots. That's how one of India's most beloved films was made, my friends. You don't need to have the great resources. Somebody spoke of resources. You don't need to have the great resources. Stretch the lemons that Sir was talking about, the cards. The cards that are dealt out to you. It's how you play the game. You don't need triple aces, right? We didn't have nothing. And that's how one of India's most beloved films was made. Ladies and gentlemen, my friends, I just want to say I'm pretty humbled listening to you, Shamem, Guruji, Admiral Saab. I can't tell you how very, very lucky I am to stand in front of all of you. I'm humbled. My darling wife is over here. I feel, yes, the prettiest girl in the audience anyway. My darling wife is here. And I'll tell you something, whatever we may learn, my mother taught me a few things to encourage others, like she empowered me. And every time I would step out of the house, wherever I'm going, no matter how old I became, she passed away at the age of 94. Every time I left the house, she would say this one word to me. Son, would turn around and she would say, sparkle, son, sparkle. And you know what? Tell that, if you're a team man, tell that to your friends, tell that to your colleagues, tell that to the person who may have lost or may have won, and that person was unhappy, as Guruji said. Sparkle. Next time you'll do it. Encourage people. Makes you happy. Trust me. It makes you happy. And today, I can't believe that I'm standing here receiving so much love and affection. But she would go home, I would go home after every show or and something like this. She would take a full hisab kitab. Who was there? What did they say? So nice. My God, so-and-so was there. P.T. Usha was there. My God, Admiral Sir. Subhash Ghai sir was there. Is he there? My God, beautiful. And she would ask me two questions. And this is the be-all and end-all of all existence for me. No matter how much we learn and how many takeaways we may have from this. Two questions. Did they show you love? And tonight, I'll tell her yes. Did they show you respect? I'll tell her yes. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for allowing me to tell my mom that you showed me love and you showed me respect. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you, Rishabh, wherever you are. God bless you. Thank you.